This drone problem has been going on for well over a month, and we have yet to hear from President Joe Biden. He has yet to directly address the public about these drones. Now, personally, I don't care to hear from him myself. I don't know how you guys feel, but at the end of the day, he is the president of the United States, supposedly. So this is kind of his job to address situations like this one. But the guy that everyone really wants to hear from, Donald Trump, he finally weighed in on the situation, and here's what he had to say right here. Mystery drone sightings all over the country. Can this really be happening without our government's knowledge? I don't think so. Let the public know, and now. Otherwise, shoot them down. Donald J. Trump. Now, there was a lot of spelling and punctuation errors in that statement that I'm not used to really seeing from him. But anyways, I guess the question is this. If this problem continues and this is still an issue when Donald Trump takes office, and it looks like it's still going to be an issue. It doesn't look like this problem is going anywhere. In fact, I would make the argument that the current administration is dumping this problem on the next administration. But anyways, if this is still a problem, the question is Donald Trump going to keep the same energy that he has right now when he says, hey, we're going to shoot these things down? Are we going to see a totally different approach to this situation, which is what a lot of us expect, right? We expect that the next administration is going to handle this problem very differently. But there's also a chance that the next administration takes over. Maybe Donald Trump and others are made aware of certain information that they aren't aware of right now, and maybe they'll tone it down, and maybe we just won't hear about it anymore. So I guess that's the question. Do you think Donald Trump's going to take office and then, boom, we're going to start seeing them shooting these things down? Or do you think the problem's kind of just going to silently, quietly go away? But, you know, even though we haven't heard from Joe Biden directly about this, we know that he's been briefed about this. We've heard from his press secretary, and we've heard from John Kirby in the White House. And they've kind of switched their stories multiple times. At first, they said they were aware that this was an issue and that they were looking into the issue. And then next, they said, hey, there's no evidence that this is happening. And they've been under fire ever since that. John Kirby in the White House, the entire Biden administration is under fire about this problem right now. And the fact that they literally came out and said, hey, there's no evidence this is happening, as if we haven't already heard from the military, the FBI, local police departments, civilians, mayors, congressmen, senators, and what have you. So we know this is a real issue. They admitted it was a real issue, then denied it was an issue. Now they're walking that back because, like I said, they've been getting absolutely freaking destroyed on the internet for over the last 24 hours. I want to go ahead and roll this news clip because even the mainstream media, listen, me and the media, we're never on the same page hardly about anything, but even the mainstream media is letting the White House have it right now. Let's go ahead and take a look.
New Jersey State Assemblyman Brian Bergen, he's a former military helicopter pilot, was involved in that meeting yesterday that they thought the governor was going to come to, but didn't. You said after that meeting that you had gone to it to have your concerns allayed, but you came out of that meeting with even more concerns that you had going in. What are you thinking today?
Yeah, that's 100% true. I'm no better off today than I was yesterday. I mean, that meeting was a joke. It was a total waste of time, and it showed the ineptitude that's going on right now in this investigation. You know what we need right now? We need leadership. Somebody needs to step up and lead. Governor Murphy pointing his finger towards the federal government, it's not going to cut it right now. He has resources at his disposal that he needs to put into action. We have the state police, who I learned in the meeting yesterday had a helicopter hovering above one of these drones and chose not to follow it back to where it's coming from. And he also has the National Guard. which he can mobilize to figure out what the hell is going on. We need leadership in the state of New Jersey, and it's completely void of that right now.
Although he says that his hands are tied by the federal government. I don't know if you saw it, but a few moments ago, John Kirby over at the White House said this about the drone invasion. Listen here.
The Department of Homeland Security and the FBI are investigating these sightings, and they're working closely with state and local law enforcement to provide resources using numerous detection methods to better understand their origin. Using very sophisticated electronic detection technologies provided by federal authorities, we have not been able to, and neither have state or local law enforcement authorities, corroborate any of the reported visual sightings. To the contrary, upon review of available imagery, it appears that many of the reported sightings are actually manned aircraft that are being operated lawfully.
So what he's basically saying there is, these are not the droids that you're looking for. I mean, what do you say to that?
Yeah, see, that guy's an idiot. That I can tell you right now, because the colonel of the state police told the members of the state legislature that one of his helicopters was hovering above a 6-foot wide drone, and he landed that helicopter because he felt unsafe for his pilots. I'm a former Apache helicopter pilot and a member of the New Jersey State Legislature, and I've seen these things in my own community. That guy, I don't even know his name, who was on here a couple minutes ago, is a fool if he's going to say that there's no issue.
Well, he's a former rear admiral in the U.S. Navy named John Kirby. So, helicopter pilot against the admiral. Go ahead.
Well, go Army, beat Navy. That's what I have to say in this regard.
All right. So frustration does seem to be reaching the highest levels. This is what New Jersey Senator Cory Booker said yesterday. Listen here.
I've been a little frustrated. There hasn't been enough transparency, letting people know what's happening. It's allowing a lot of potentially misinformation to spread, or at least fear. We should know what's going on over our skies, and I've asked for a lot more information.
You would think after that Chinese balloon incident last year that people would be taking this a little more seriously in terms of investigation.
Yeah, we 100% should. I mean, we need people to take action. On the segment before I got here, somebody said, well, it's impossible to track hundreds and hundreds of these drones for our state police. We don't need to track hundreds or thousands. We only need to track one and find out who is at fault for one of these things. I'm telling you, it's a big issue. I hope at the end of the day, we find out that it was nothing, that it's some commercial application being tested, and this is a big to-do about nothing. But right now, everybody, senators, assembly people, U.S. senators are calling for action, and people are not making enough of a difference. Before, the same gentleman you mentioned earlier, he said that we're being resourced. The state was being resourced with this technology. In the briefing that we were at, the state police said that they were going to be getting some new technology from the Department of Homeland Security to track these drones. And apparently it was supposed to determine what's a bird and what's a drone to make it easier to track. One of my colleagues, and this was yesterday, said, when are you going to get that? And they said within 2 days. 2 days. We need it now.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I've never seen a bird with lights, but maybe I've just missed a certain species of bird. All right. Assemblyman, thank you for joining us. The mystery deepens. And some people are saying the House, just across the street from me, just approved nearly $900 billion for the military. You think there might be a buck or two in there to try to figure out what's going on? We'll see. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
You know, I've covered my fair share of crazy stories on this channel. And those of you who have been here for a while, you know what I'm talking about. We've dived into some really wild stuff. I mean, this drone story is crazy, but I think we've talked about crazier things. But throughout the course of me covering all of these crazy stories, I often find myself making the point that I'm about to make right now. And that point is, this is no longer the 1940s, the 1930s. This isn't even the 1980s, 1990s. We are in 2024, about to go into 2025. The media, the government, politicians, the White House, they can't cover up things in the way that they used to. They can't control the narrative and the flow of information the way that they used to. Information spreads too fast these days. We are all too connected. All of us. Most of the world is walking around with a 4K camera in their pocket that can take nice photos and videos, and at the click of a button share those photos and videos with millions of people throughout the world. They're not able to control the narrative. They're not able to control these stories in the way that they used to. So the Biden administration, coming out so late, trying to pretend like, oh, there's no evidence that this is even happening. It was a huge misstep, a huge overstep. It's as if they are just, out of touch with reality, I guess you could say. To come out and try to paint that narrative after the military already weighed in, after the FBI already weighed in, and even asked the public to help them find out what these are. After there's already congressional hearings about this. After the Department of Homeland Security is already having meetings. The Biden administration tries to come out and say that this isn't even happening. Like I said, this is not the 1930s. They cannot control the flow of information the way that they used to. They can't control these stories like they could during, let's say, like the Roswell incident and stuff like that, right? We've been poking holes through all of these different media narratives. And to be clear, I'll be perfectly clear here, even the media looked at the freaking Biden administration like they were batshit crazy for coming out a month and a half after this story broke and trying to say nothing's going on here, even though all other forms and levels of government have already acknowledged that this is a problem. But like I said, I don't know if they're just out of touch or what. Or do they know that this is going to get, people enraged and angry? I honestly don't get it. But I'm glad that we're seeing the response to the nonsense that John Kirby said in the White House little briefing that they had. I'm glad that we're seeing members of Congress and senators and state reps and law enforcement agencies coming out and saying, hey, we're not going to take this. You're an idiot, basically. But yeah, I don't want to say it blows my mind, but in a way it does, because this story has gone way too far for them to come out and try to control the narrative now. Like, if y'all tried to get on top of this from the beginning, that would be one thing, but you just didn't say anything, and then you did a month and a half later, and it was a whole bunch of nonsense. But I guess that's what's to be expected from these people these days. For now, let me know your thoughts about this, though, down in the comments below. While you're down there, hit that thumbs up, hit that subscribe, ring that notification bell, and I'll talk to you all very soon in the next one.